As for as for everybody, for everyone, we want to give you the welcome to separate the time to be with us at this moment. But it's important for us that everyone should keep your mics off so that the fluency of the seminar will be correct. Remember that these seminars are going to be recorded, and we want to avoid at any cost background noises. I'm sure that the speaker of the seminar will give us the opportunity to ask questions and to involve during the seminar with him. So please try we'll try our best to keep the mics off. I want to share this phrase that says, this quote that says, most of the successful people I have known are the ones who do more listening than talking. It is from Bernard Baruch. The English department coordinating committee is confirmed by our colleagues Marisol Ortega, Belsis Bishop, Suri Palacio, Joel Alvarez, Randy Morales, and Veronica DeFort, with the support of the Extension and Continuing Education Coordination, Professor Florencio Diaz, Director, and Edikel Santimateo, Administrative Coordinator of the College of Humanities from Universidad de Panamá, has the honor to make the formal opening of our first seminar of the Diplomado 2026 in the online modality, with the name Spanish and English Translation, Enhancing Bilingual Competence of Language Professionals of ESL and Literature. So now we'll call on Professor Marisol Ortega, who will give us the interactive works. She is the coordinator of the Long-Term Education Committee of the English Department of the College of Humanities from Universidad de Panamá.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning, Professor Adrian Jimenez, head of the English department. Mrs. A.D.K. Santimateo, Administrative Coordinator of the Continuing Education Coordination. Before I continue, I would like to express our gratitude to Mrs. A.D.K. Santimateo, who unconditionally accompanied us in the organization of this event, and also to the English Department Seminar Organizing Committee, Professor Randy Morales, Belsis Bishop, Professor Veronica Forte, Professor Suri Palacios, Professor Joel Alvarez, and of course, myself. Without this committee, our event wouldn't have been possible. And of course, we have to thank our extraordinary lecture speaker, Professor Rafael Cardenas, who throughout this program will share his wisdom and expertise with us. We would also like to thank you all, the participants, who will enthusiastically share this experience with us. Learning is a treasure that will follow its owner everywhere. With this spirit, the Universidad de Panamá, the English Department and the Organizing Committee of the Diploma Program, Spanish and English Translation, Enhancing Bilingual Competence of Language Professionals in ESL and Literature 2026, warmly welcome you. We are going to start in a few minutes But before we start, we would like to express our gratitude to the Lord, our God, with a few words of prayer. I don't know if Pastor Mauricio Brown is in the room. Veronica?
Yeah, yes, we are. Yes, we are. Here we are.
With this, we call Pastor Mauricio Brown to guide us in prayer. Thank you, Pastor.
Amen. Good morning to everyone. God bless you. Let's have a word of prayer. Almighty God, we come before you, giving you thanks, dear Father, for this opportunity that has been given, Father, that you can be first. And we pray, your Lord, that you can just bring conviction, Father, help the organizers, Father, to be able to manage this course and attain their goals. We ask you at this point. We pray, to Lord, touch each one and reveal yourself to everyone. Help them to be able to, Father, do what they have in mind. And as they put you first, may you do what you have to do in everyone's life. We thank and we praise you in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Thank you, Pastor Mauricio Brown, for that
Amen.
prayer.
Amen.
So we continue with our program, and we'll call on Dean Olmedo Garcia, who is the Dean of the College of Humanities, to give us some words.
Buenos días a todos.
Buenos días.
Buenos días. En primer lugar, quisiera saludar a nuestra coordinadora de educación continua. No sé cuántos años lleva coordinando, pero creo que nos ha acompañado durante estas gestiones nuestras de hace más de 10 años, la profesora Marisol Ortega. Verónica, tú siempre has estado también coordinando esta temporada de verano en los seminarios de formación, y también un saludo y un abrazo por esta coordinación.
Gracias.
Al equipo de nuestra educación continua, a nuestra directora del departamento y nuestro director de escuela, los saludamos por esta iniciativa. Creo que es importante para nosotros. Ya lo hemos dicho innumerables veces. Los desafíos de la humanidad de hoy no solamente son los desafíos de la guerra o de los conflictos por quién tiene más poder económico. Los desafíos de hoy es construir una humanidad que sea más solidaria, que sea más igualitaria, que tenga compasión del uno por los otros. Y en esa guerra, que algunos han denominado cultural, nosotros tenemos desafíos. Los desafíos que heredamos desde el siglo XIX y siglo XX para construir un mundo más humano. Y por eso es que estamos hoy aquí. No solamente para formarnos en el lenguaje, en la gramática o en las herramientas tecnológicas para potenciar el conocimiento o el lenguaje. Nosotros quisiéramos transmitirle a todos los que participan en este seminario de formación y de requerimientos. Cada vez más nosotros requerimos mayor formación en distintas áreas transversales de nuestro conocimiento. Pero ese conocimiento debe ser pertinente. Debe ser un conocimiento que ayude a los pueblos a descubrir sus problemas, a comprometerse a transformar sus problemas. Cada vez más estamos viviendo una humanidad que crea brechas sociales, culturales, sociales, económicas. ¿Y qué sirve eso? Tener una humanidad en conflicto y en guerra, donde en un año mueren 50.000 niños en Gaza. ¿Para qué nosotros queremos ese mundo? Nosotros queremos un mundo donde los recursos, lo más importante recurso de la naturaleza y los recursos que puede crear el hombre, se pongan al servicio de la humanidad. Ese debe ser el principio que nosotros hemos asumido y seguiremos asumiendo. Esta universidad ha sido víctima de un recorte brutal de más de 80 millones de dólares. Evidentemente que es un gasto del servicio docente, que vamos a verlo realmente afectado. Pero nosotros queremos decirle que con los recursos que tenemos, hemos creado un centro del conocimiento de investigación en el departamento de inglés, que lo dirige un compañero profesor del departamento. Nosotros también tenemos la certificación del TESOL, el programa TESOL. Lo hemos asumido en colaboración y coordinación con el gobierno de los Estados Unidos. En efecto, creo que nosotros hemos avanzado enormemente. Y en eso es que nosotros asumimos el compromiso de seguir construyendo la universidad y la facultad que nosotros queremos. Esa universidad que sea sostenible, que sea solidaria, que sea pública. Esa es la que queremos defender. Y la mejor defensa es discutir, como hoy lo estamos haciendo, con más de 30 especialistas que inician el seminario hoy de inglés, el seminario que nosotros brindamos oportunamente. Esa es la herramienta que necesitamos para seguir construyendo, seguir descodificando los grandes problemas de la humanidad. Y en ese compromiso creo que nuestra coordinadora, la profesora Marisol, Verónica, han jugado un papel importante porque nos ha permitido a nosotros seguir viendo y descubriendo otras áreas del conocimiento que todos los días van surgiendo nuevos descubrimientos, nuevos conocimientos. Y nosotros queremos estar también actualizados en esos descubrimientos. Sepan ustedes que la Escuela Internacional de Verano coincide con el programa de seminario de inglés. Y en ese compromiso es una ventana no solamente para tener miedo, para huir, es una ventana para seguir abriendo oportunidades a todos y a todas. Nos requerimos, porque más la exigencia del mundo de hoy exige cada vez más, cada año, que nosotros tengamos 20 créditos de conocimiento. Y esos 20 créditos de conocimiento están en áreas críticas del lenguaje, de la matemática. En esa transformación y en esa visión de la educación, creo que es importante también seguir defendiendo las humanidades, el principio de la espiritualidad y el principio de la solidaridad y de la igualdad. Sepan ustedes que hoy, con este grano del seminario, aportamos al desarrollo del conocimiento. No le tengamos miedo al recorte presupuestario. Las oportunidades son mucho más y aprendemos cuando tenemos más oportunidades. Y por eso hoy, el ejemplo del Departamento de Inglés que puede brindar un seminario sin costo, tanto a facilitadores como a participantes, porque nos hemos unido, nos hemos organizado de manera solidaria para que tampoco por esa vía nosotros generemos un costo adicional a nuestros compañeros docentes. Finalmente quiero decirle, en solidaridad, para que no exista otro momento como ocurrió el año pasado, cuando los docentes levantaron sus voces y varios docentes del departamento de inglés que trabajaban en la media levantaron sus voces para aprobar un proyecto de seguridad social más humano, más solidario, fueron destituidos 300 compañeros. La historia no puede mancharnos. Esos compañeros son seres humanos, padres de familia, docentes de nuestra universidad también. En homenaje a ellos, le brindamos estas palabras y este testimonio y haciendo un llamado para que se reincorporen a nuestras aulas esos compañeros docentes. Finalmente quiero agradecerles esta oportunidad y sigamos unidos como siempre, defendiendo la universidad pública, popular, para todos y todas. Gracias Marisol, gracias Verónica, gracias a los equipos de trabajo de ustedes y a nuestra querida directora, profesora Gloria Ojo. Bienvenida a todos en esta mañana.
Gracias, profesor doctor Olmedo García, por esas palabras. Y lo que hacemos es en pro de nuestro equipo, nuestra universidad. Así que gracias. So we'll continue and we'll have some words by Magister Adrián Jiménez, who is the director of the English School of the College of Humanities.
Good morning, Dr. Romeo Garcia, Dean of the College of Humanities. Thank you for sharing here with us. Magister Lidiana Hills, Vice Dean of the College of Humanities. Magister Gloria de Ho, Chairperson of the English Department. Members of Extension, Culture, and Continuing Education, special guests, professors, students, and friends. Thank you very much for joining us today. It's truly an honor to welcome you to this engaging, inspiring, and enriching certificate program, Spanish and English translation, enhancing bilingual competence of language professionals of ESL and literature, 2026. I'd like to extend a warm welcome to the speaker, Professor Rafael Cárdenas, and the members of the organizing committee, coordinated by Professor Marisol Ortega. We truly appreciate your passion and commitment. Thank you. We are grateful to God for the blessing of being here together, united as a family. Let's start. As you know, translation is not merely the transfer of words from one language to another. It has to do with meaning, culture, intention, tone, and context. It's where linguistics meets literature and where pedagogy meets practice. Okay, now I want you to, let's go back for a moment to our early years as language professionals, especially for those who were born in the 20th century. Let's take a brief journey back together. Do you remember working with typewriters, heavy dictionaries like this one on your desk, and pages full of corrections, handwritten corrections? We didn't have access to the internet at that time. Translators back then carried a great responsibility. Accuracy was not just a goal, it was a commitment to trust and professionalism. Now, let's go back. Now, let's go to the present. In the 21st century, now, the translator operates in a radically different environment. Today, professionals work with CAT tools, terminology databases, cloud platforms, and artificial intelligence, ChatGPT, Gemini, and others. Drafts can be generated in seconds. Glossaries are built automatically. Deadlines are shorter. The market moves faster. What used to take days in the past now can be done in seconds. Our duty as professors in 2026 is to prepare translators who combine the discipline of the 20th century with the but as a critical thinking, cultural sensitivity, and ethical judgment, professional and technological awareness. The market demands speed, yes, but it also demands human expertise for accuracy and credibility. As ESL and literature teachers, our mission is to prepare professionals who move confidently between languages with preserving tone, meaning, and precision. From the discipline translator of the 20th century to the AI-assisted professionals of the 21st. So we are the bridge between tradition and innovation. So we have a great responsibility and a great challenge today. I am sure that through this certificate program, you will discover and learn new tools and teaching techniques that will improve your classrooms and professional practice. I invite you to participate actively and share your knowledge and experience. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Adrian Jimenez, for that working words. Now we continue with the main part of this program, this seminar, and we'll present, and we want to give a special welcome and thanks to our speaker of this seminar, Dr. Rafael Cárdenas. We are sure that he will make this seminar an outstanding and innovative one. He will share with us his expertise about Spanish translation topics and translation early. Let's meet our presenter. So I will share a very brief summary of Professor Cárdenas' bio. Says he's a Fulbright Fellow, LASPAO, for years 2011 and 2014, to 2014. Degree obtained a master in TESOL, teaching English as a second language from the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. ESL instructor for students of the Intensive English Institute at UIUC, and extensive experience in training adults and youths in public and private education institutions. Design essential English courses, conversation materials, and resources for Panamanian students in tourism and bilingual secretarial studies, Universidad de Panamá. Certified translator of English, Spanish, Spanish-English language pairs, and specialized in legal and commercial translation. Bachelor degree in humanities with a major in English. He also has experience in customer service, in call centers, and the hospitality industry. Worked as a customer service agent, sales agent, and telephone interpreter for local call center. He was an employee in the hospitality industry and in charge of the hotel's business center. His professional achievements, full-time associate professor of the Universidad de Panamá with 13 years of service, a candidate for a doctorate in the doctoral program in humanities and social science. Participated and negotiated on behalf of UDELAS in the training program in English for Panamanian Mitradel, Panamanian Ministry of Labor, a national program designed for job insertion and new hires of the local call centers industry, 2004 to 2005. More than 500 students, More than 500 students were trained and employed after completing the program. Helped to generate more than $200,000 for UDELAS through funding from the Panamanian government. Supervision of English instructors and students during the Mitradel program. supervised and held the position of program coordinator for English training for organizations affiliated with ICAO through the Civil Aviation Authority of Panama 2010 to 2011. Phases 3 and 4 of the program: evaluation of civil aviation air traffic controllers and pilots to determine if they reach competency levels 3 or 4. Participated in training based on ICAO standards program materials, and students evaluated according to ICAO criteria. Has acted as a liaison between UDELAS and the civil aviation. Participated in social service activities and field work with the Organization for Catholic Teaching, Colegio Javier of the Jewish Company in Panama. His education background: he has a PhD. He is a PhD student in the humanities and social science at the Universidad de Panama, master's degree in translation and interpreting, University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, 2014. He has a postgraduate degree in Spanish English translation from Universidad de Panama from 2012. He is a specialist in virtual learning environment in 2011, and he also specialized and has a master's degree in higher education teaching from Universidad de Panama in 2002 to 2006. He has a Bachelor of Arts in Humanities, specializing in English in Universidad de Panama in 1995. So with this, we will go to the, at this moment, Dr. Rafael Cardenas, who will be with us during the whole week. So, Dr. Rafael, your public is waiting. Is he there? Dr. Rafael?
Professor Rafael, we cannot hear you.
Yeah, something is going on with his mic because he has it open.
Yeah, he's talking. But we cannot hear you, Professor. You have to adjust your mic. We cannot hear you.
We're having some technical problems. So while we wait for Professor Rafael to come in to log in again, let's write, sorry, let's write on the chat, how do you feel this morning? How do you feel this morning? Do we have Professor Rafael back?
Yes, he's back again, but I don't know if he's testing his mic because we cannot hear him. Okay, we're waiting, Professor.
Okay, let's see what. Oh, nobody is sharing. Share with us. How are you feeling this morning? I know you had to get up very early to join us. I am having an issue with my device. 1 second. Yes. Yeah. Hania feels great and blessed. Yeah, very good. That's the way to go. Somebody else wants to share how you are feeling this morning. Feeling fantastic. Energy. Yes, Maria. Somebody else? We are 20 connected. So at least we should have half of the people sharing how they are feeling today. Katia, she says she's feeling grateful for a new day. Yeah, good. Those are very positive energies. Ruth says, I feel grateful and happy to be here. Yes, Ruth. Thank you. Somebody else. All these positive expressions will help Professor Rafael to solve his situations with energy. So I want to thank the people that share their thoughts with us. So if somebody wants to share what are their expectations of this seminar, why are you taking the seminar? Why are you taking the Diplomado? If you want to write it, you can write it in the chat. If not, you can share it out loud while we wait for Professor Cardenas. But I think somebody wrote something here. I'm very enthusiastic to learn new things so different from what I usually do. Yeah. Yeah. Good idea. Me too. I'm ready to learn new things, different things. Somebody else. Somebody else wants to open their mics or write on the chat, whichever. And just share Why are you taking this seminar or this diplomado? I want to gain confidence as a future translator. Good, that's Giuliani, Julia. Ay, ¿qué dice ahí? Julaisi. Julaisi. Yeah. The only way to get confidence is practicing and learning new techniques, new strategies. Good thought, Julaisi. Anybody else wants to share? It's a great tool for the job market. Yes, Maria. So true. I would like to learn about new techniques and to enhance my translation skills. Great idea, Ruth. Aristides says, I feel great because I am going to learn something new. Yeah, good, Aristides. Anybody else? Just let me know when Professor Rafael is in again. Anybody else want to share something else? No. Oh, okay. Professor Rafael is coming back. So let's pray that
Hello.
he's hey, way.
Hi. Welcome.
Professor Rafael, yeah, we're all waiting for you. We're anxious to learn new things.
But I do definitely apologize for the situation. I don't know what the problem was, but something was going on with my device. The one I had before plugged. For some reason, it was not impossible. It was not possible for me to connect everything. So okay, here we are. Thank you for your kind words. Every time we start a program or some kind of training, it's a very good thing, first of all, to acknowledge the effort required and the trust that is involved in all of this. I should tell you that about having the necessary quorum for these certificate programs, because certificate programs are different from traditional seminars. Seminars are only 40 words and they're easier to handle. What I mean by easier to handle is for participants to attend, for people to remain accountable and all of that, because we understand that this is in most of our cases the break period. Many people travel, many people do other things during this time of year. So coming over for a seminar like this is always there is this element of effort. Now, you have to see me more than anything as your facilitator of content that is out there. Translation as a topic is something that we are all familiar with. As long as you have been involved in language learning and teaching, and then you've had the opportunity to uh, tap into professional topics for different kinds of engineer, professionals, namely engineers, architects, doctors, and so forth. You will, end up little by little discovering that there is big body of knowledge out for different reasons and different purposes. Today's topics concerning translation will be focused mainly on translation phenomenon as it is experienced by the translator, namely, or focus our attention on, or our main focus will be the experience of the English Spanish English language pair translator. Uh, Professionals who get involved in this activity always being in need, you know. Um, Media requires translation. There have been some efforts to use technology to replace the role of the translator, but this hasn't been possible, really. You always have a human process. And I think it will remain like this for a long time. The reason is obvious. You need someone who will have some criteria on what to do in order to convey meaning. Everything revolves around meaning. Everything boils down to that meaning element. So, a good translator is someone who focuses on that, on what people wants to, what is being communicated, what is being targeted, really. So, it's not about being verbose or very very savvy in terms of lexical skills. That's an element of translation. However, more importantly than anything, what we need to know is we need to be able to understand whoever, whoever's intention is behind the text or behind some interpretation or communication that they may want to reason, because that's also possible. Translation is facing a crisis in our country. I should refer to this, but I think the crisis is not only local; it's also global. There aren't enough translators to handle the kinds of work that has been, produced lately. We're facing constraints and limitations concerning different weaknesses that there are out there. Just to give you an example of what I'm referring to, I should refer to the Summit of the Americas during Varela's administration, just to bring in an example. It was not possible for a single Panamanian company to bid for that contract and handle that. We had some foreign company take care of that, and situation occurred back in the day, probably around, I would say, probably around 8 years ago. Uh, Panama has had this, dwindling pool of translation and translators' offices work or their involvement or impact in what is happening. Uh, and there was a CAF event very recently during this administration, and that's the kind of focusing on mostly. Professionally speaking, these events are mostly held in Spanish. So when it comes to translating for people who don't, or speakers who come from non Spanish speaking backgrounds, we're having lots of limitations. So there is always the bottom line issue here is that there is always a demand for professional translation. There is always demand for professional and well-formed translators who would like to do work. APTI, which is Asociación Panameña de Traductores e Intérpretes, they do exist and they offer training, but they have lost a lot of their uh, projection. That's part of the problem also, that we have limited impact from this used to be known kinds of professional organizations. And now, very few places offer or might offer you some training focus on translation. The University of Panama is one of those, right? I also carry the hat of being the coordinator of graduate programs at the department, at the English department, in terms of everything that has to do with graduate master's level programs. Translation is indeed a master's level program at the University of Panama that's held at the English department. Um, we're facing a limitation with instructors, well qualified instructors who fulfill all the requirements necessary according to university standards and accreditation standards. So we encourage anybody who is interested in studying or doing further studies to aspire to going into this field. I think part of the problem we're facing with translation has to do with not translation departments in universities. There isn't a single, I think, a single one, at least to my knowledge, in Central America, that I'm talking about universities that hold translation departments or translation offices that are academic, that do academic work. This does not exist. It's been mostly reduced to offices where the services offered, and there may be some assistance for researchers and these kind of things, but it's something mainly administrative, nothing academic, and this has been very harmful for the occupation and the activity. So this is just to give you a head start of what the reasons are for the creation of these kinds of programs. So it's important that we regain part of our market. Our market is also translating, and not because we're going to grow rich out of this activity. The reason is because um, eh, computers and softwares are not going to replace the need and demand for a translator to do human work that involves communication. It's very limiting to think that there may be a time in which the computer is going to do human human person um, someone's work. It's kind of simplistic to think so. There will always be someone behind it. So you could be that one. We should be that one. All right. That's my intention here with all of this. Okay. With that being said, hopefully I'm not having any more issues with the listening component of this. I'm gonna be sharing my screen with you guys. All right, allow me a second to just get there. Am I sharing fine? This is simple, traditional uh, PowerPoint. That's what I'm sharing with you here. So please let me know if you can see it.
Yes, you are. You're sharing.
And how about my mic? Do you listen to me just fine? Is it good enough?
Yes, we listen to you great. The only thing that on your PowerPoint you have like a window open, so we can see a black shade on top of your PowerPoint on your slide.
Hmm. Let me see if I may make it larger. A second.
Okay, that's better.
Is it better? All right, wonderful, wonderful. Okay, I'm gonna keep it this way, and here we go. Okay, as we announced before, we're gonna be introducing translation from the perspective of what a Spanish, English, Spanish language translator perspective is. Essentially, the experience of someone who is in between these two important languages. Don't lose sight that both English and Spanish are major players in linguistic terms, so to speak, about world languages and world communication. These are two highly prestigious, well-known, and highly regarded languages because of the number of speakers behind them. We should not lose sight also that probably we're talking here about maybe over a billion speakers, together, English and Spanish speaking language. So we're just giving like ballpark figure, a number, just to give it a number. So over a billion. So there, there, there are, there will always be, as long as the world is as it is now, a work for translation because of the number of speakers, essentially. Okay, so I'm going to be referring now to some preliminary ideas. I'm going to be, of course, running some text for you because it will be a very good thing for you guys to take note of some of the ideas, jot down ideas from what we are discussing. But I'm just going to be flowing, throughout these slides, offering you golden nuggets out of each one of the slides because, as you know, part of being as didactic as possible is to provide some support element. So the slides, you see them as my support element for the ideas that we're going to be generating. But most of the discussion is going to be taking place from me, right? So you will have the opportunity to probably ask questions and so forth. I am going to be stopping at moments just to see if the ideas that we are pondering make sense to you or not. Okay, so we can follow up and be on the same page. So we're gonna make sure we do this as didactically as possible. Okay. Um, Okay. First of all, we need to know that there is a big difference between translation and interpretation. Okay, this is one of the biggest problems, and this impacts our local market. Do you know why? Is there anybody who has an idea why this is it, that we're having this problem with translation and interpretation? Well, you don't need to know, but I will tell you anyway. The situation is this. Once you become a licensed translator in Panama, you're expected to be the whole thing, like the full package. You're supposed to interpret and uh, translate. You're provided with a license, and you, of course, register your signing, your signature at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs here at local offices, and then you're entitled to provide a seal or stamp and then signature for any document. However, that also means that you should be able to interpret for someone. So let's say maybe there's going to be an event at Lapa, and we have some biologists coming from any university from the UK or US, or maybe. So this is what you're entitled to do once you uh, become a certified and licensed translator, because this is the proper term. In other countries, they have different names for the status, right? They call it juror, right, or something like that. I think the equivalent term would be traductor jurado, or certified translator, or licensed translator. So there are different statuses, regarding this activity. And of course, this is one of those free, uh, what we call uh, open activities for professionals, just to give it like some general status, in which professionals from different walks of professional life are welcome, because you have translators who are also lawyers, who are also engineers, who are also doctors, and so forth. And once you join some meetings, you're going to start of course, there are also freelancers, right? Freelancers. Eh, in the case of a country like Panama, in which everything relies on the demand, there will be lots of licensed translators who are also freelancers, right? Okay, so it's very important that we establish this difference from the start. Okay, right off the bat, we have translators and we have interpreters, but it doesn't mean that you do one thing or the other. No, you have to do both things. Okay, you're expected to be capable of performing at both levels through your voice and through your writing. Okay, for some people, this doesn't make sense, and this probably makes them feel like it's not very clear what the role of a translator is, but the role is very clear. You should be a facilitator for communication between two languages, either through voice or through writing. Okay? And if you don't do one of the two areas, you're going to start losing business. Okay? You're going to be losing business, and this is going to be very negative for your professional practice, I should say. Okay, and so I hope this makes sense and strikes a key to you uh, at some level, right? It's very important. So take a look at this case that I'm showing over here on this slide, and let me know if you understand it. Because first of all, it's important to determine what the problem is. Okay, so this person named Marcy Powell tells of a Christmas card from a Chilean student that includes this greeting, right? So someone from Chile sent a Christmas card and wrote something like this, may the Lord bless and can you. Okay? That's the message. That's the message. Okay. So you see the problem over here. What about that can you? Right? Okay. So what the person should have probably translated or communicated is keep you safe, or guards you against evil, or protects you, right? But since this person used dictionary without checking for connotation, you see, person use can, and can is a physical can of like canned beans or canned meat, okay? And this is what is translated as preserve or preserva, all right? That's what it is in a dictionary, in a traditional dictionary. So what this tells you is that this person probably is was not capable of understanding that there are different layers of meaning. So this is an example that meaning um, does not make sense unless you know what to look for out of it. And the same thing happens. Many people say that dictionaries are not as good. Well, this is a much necessary resource, because we may be living dictionaries, yes, but we have limited capabilities, right? Limited capabilities. So this is a very big mistake. As you know, you should have probably provided, instead of can you and can you, so and the Lord preserves you or protects you or guards you against evil, whatever, but not can you. These kinds of mistakes occur. Okay, I took this from a source, a living source. You see here, traduttore traditore, right? From Marcy Powell, an author. Now that I'm mentioning some authors, it's very important that you take note of these names, all right? As I was telling you before, I strongly recommend us to try to keep track of some of the ideas that we're providing here, because they will come in the form of homework that we're going to be placing in Google Classroom. I don't know if you were informed by, I hope you were, but if not, I'm sorry to break the news to you that there will be homework assigned at the end of sessions. Uh, as far as I'm concerned, this is part of a certificate program uh, grading and accreditation system. So it's very necessary for you to try to keep track of. In case you're joining us a bit late, what we've just discussed, I'm going to be wrapping up very quickly here, is translator is also an interpreter. You're not capable of interpreting, or you don't want to delve into interpreting, then you're not a good translator. And this is problem. You see, this is limiting your projection. So we should say this right off the bat. Very important. Aside from that, another thing I just mentioned here is that we're having um, some issues with meaning, right? Some people, they just want to translate word for word, and this is very harmful in terms of meaning. Generally, this is going to ruin your work. So we should be aware, right? We just gave you an example here that one word can, like derail completely some translation work. I have some names here that I think you should look into, because I'm going to be asking you about these people in the coming week. Eugene Naida. This is an important name in translation. From an academic viewpoint, probably this is one of the fathers of modern translation. Mildred Larson, she's another one. George Steiner is another important translator and philosopher. Many of them are also philosophers and linguists. It's important that you understand that a translation brings in people from different areas. So Savory, Theodore Savory, in case it rings a bell or not, eh, probably you've heard or you've read about them, but I strongly recommend you guys to try to do a little bit of homework about who they were and what they did, because we'll be talking about them in more detail and how they have impacted translation and how we do things now. Because most of the translation theory that we're going to be discussing started during the 19th and 20th century. J.C. Catford, and of course for Spanish we're going to have some names, important names such as Ayora and just see. Let me go back a bit. Mhm. So we have Gerardo Vasquez Ayora and Valentin Garcia Yebra. Okay, these are big names in translation, and we'll be talking about them in more detail. Okay. Does any name ring a bell to you? Does any of the names mentioned here, do you recall them from any reading? Anybody?
Oh, I'm sorry to say, no, none of them.
None of them. All right. So, well, don't feel bad about it, because generally in academic circles, translators have been invisible. There's actually a book named The Invisible Translator, because translation work is supposed to go unnoticed. It cannot, it should not interrupt what's happening between the parties involving communication. So, in between type of role that the translator assumes is also defined by how silence a translator should become. That's part of their professional demeanor. So I should tell that's probably the reason why they're not so well known, but they are important indeed if you are getting in the field. Um, Aside from these names that we just mentioned before, right? Um, it's important to define translation. Okay, Eh, there are two main, you know, currents, so to speak, about what translation is really like. Okay, right. So We have translation from a Darwinian perspective that sees it as some biological activity required because of natural limitation in language. So the human brain is not supposed to be able to store 10, 15, 20 different languages. The human brain doesn't have that kind of capability. The most polyglots, right? The most proficient ones, at the most, they speak, let's say, probably 5 languages, 6. No one speaks 10, 15 languages with full mastery. There's no way our brain is going to be able to keep that kind of, ability and that, you know, capacity. That's not possible. That's why computers were created also. That's one of the reasons why we have all these systems, because we have acknowledged our limitations, and given that we cannot do a work at such level for such prolonged periods of times, now we have these assistants, right, coming from computers and some other resources. From a theological perspective, which is another important one, believe it or not, this is more of a cultural uh, uh, explanation of translation. As it seems, our culture is determined by how we understand each other. So you see, we have all different kinds of groups, human groups living together. There's always tension, and the likelihood of war is present always. Okay, and ever since we've lived in this world, there's been war and misunderstanding and mistrust. But most of this, believe it or not, has also been, uh, you know, like prevented or limited or controlled by translators and interpreters and people who has in betweeners of these human groups have been able to keep the people talking, right? So I'm going to leave you with one thought, right? The thought I'd like to leave you with is this. Listen, second. So, okay, we have an angry Jehovah punished a people so that they would not speak the same language, okay? And there was a need for this, as it seems, like to keep humanity controlled. But the reality is that we have found ways to communicate with other people. And one way or another, people are communicating and preventing disaster. Because otherwise, this would have been, really messy and extremely violent in the world. People would not have any way to communicate with one another. So the translation work that is done through media, books, whichever kinds of resource that we have handy, you name it, television, newspaper, anything, even the internet, all that has prevented someone from North Korea from having issues with someone from some other part of the world far away, like probably let's say maybe I don't know, Greece maybe. But people have found a way to communicate, you know, either through a lingua franca or through some translator who have found a way. Okay? Have found a way. We have found a way. Okay? So it's an important activity because this prevents human disaster. Let's put it this way. Okay, instead of having wars, we're having many people translating work and communicating values and cultural values and cultural ideas, and there are more things in common than differences. And the translators have been important agents in making sure people communicate and understand each other. So there are barriers of our modern Babel. Right? We have a Babel um, in our world. Our civilization is a place where people speak so many different languages. So we just don't know how many languages are spoken in the world nowadays, really, because there are way too many dialects. And if you do some research into this, you'll discover that we still don't know. We haven't mapped how many languages are really spoken. There are estimates, but we don't have like linguistic certainty or numerical certainty that we have mapped the world in terms of how many languages people speak. Okay. So yeah, is there anybody saying something or we like to
Sorry,
say?
Professor Cardenas.
Yes.
For the recording, you have a window open, and when you open it, we can see a black shade on top of the slide. So I think you need to be careful with those windows.
Okay. Is it still visible? Let me see.
Yes,
Maybe.
yes,
Okay.
a black. You have a window, something open.
Is it better now?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just a line
Yes.
now.
They
But
still
it's
appear.
better.
They're small, but they're still appear.
Okay. And that is from my screen letting me know who is having the floor. But can you read? Can you see right now?
Now we can see the information on your slide, but when it's open, it covers part of the slide.
All right. I'm gonna try to, get rid of it the most I can. Thank you for
Okay,
letting me. Thank you for
thank
letting me
you.
know. Sure. Sure. Okay. So let's look at this idea. So translation is communication across the barriers posed by the babel of different languages spoken and written by mankind. So the very simplicity of this answer is deceptive. So let's look at this thought that I have brought in. So when we first learn a foreign language, right, we usually look for simple and direct equivalences between things, actions, thoughts, and foreign languages, and the same thing or action in our own language, right? We do that in an effort to gain some understanding, right? And we go for some ideas, some words. That's what we normally do. That's why everything begins with a glossary. Work with glossaries. Then glossaries evolve into dictionaries. And dictionaries eventually evolve into some other kinds of resources, right, that we use in order to gain knowledge in a language. So this is what we call direct translation. Okay, everything that has to do with one-on-one correspondences or equivalences, this is direct translation. Direct translation. Right. So is direct translation okay? Okay, this is the origin of dictionaries, right? But for teachers, it's a serious problem. And that's probably one of the culprits. The word culprit is someone to blame for, okay? We should blame someone or something concerning some difficulties or issues that we're having with language learning. So language learning has been affected very seriously by direct translation, word for word translation. Most of the cases, people will try to or attempt to translate using this sort of simplistic or one-on-one type of equivalences. There is no way we can rely on dictionaries to do our work. Knowledge of the two languages so that you don't fall into this trap. Okay, and I should say that our teachers they work this way. We understand that for children, this could be like stepping steps, like stepping stones or baby steps in the process of learning some vocabulary. But we cannot do this at the university or high school level. It's important to push beyond word for word translation in order to help someone acquire the necessary skills to understand meaning. So meaning is never at the core of word for word, sorry, translation. Okay, it's very important that we stress this issue. So it's important to put it as a command, right, or some strong recommendation or suggestion. A true translator will not allow for word type of translation. There is no way this is going to be helpful or useful for the sake of communicating meaning, which is ultimately the mission. The mission. So we also need to know some things about the meaning of translation from an etymological perspective. So what is to translate? Where does that come from as a word? The root word is in Latin is translatus. Translatus. That's the word. In case you've never heard of it, this is what it is. Okay, this is what it really is, and um, it's communicating between two different languages. And the core topics or the core names that we have learned uh, from linguistics is that there is a source language and there is a target language, right? For Spanish is lengua origen, lengua término, right? That's the term. Those are the terms that we use in order to um, do this. Now, this is in the simplest kinds of the translation, which you're doing one-on-one language pairs, right? One-on-one language pairs. This is what we call them: language, source language, and target language. And all comes from translators in Latin. Okay. So this is the original bona fide, widely accepted, run-of-the-mill explanation that you will run into most of the books that there are out there in terms of this topic. Okay. What is the translation task, or what does the translator do? He works with meaning. Meaning. You see meaning at the bottom, because everything boils down to the meaning. You discover the meaning and you re-express the meaning. You go from the source language to the they call it receptor language here. As I just mentioned before, target language is also a very good term, a widely known term. So that's what it, translation entails. The challenge. What is the challenge in translation? There are different layers of meaning, right? We have to let's think of it as if we're peeling some fruit, right? We have the lexical layer, we have the grammatical layer, and there is also the idiomatic layer that is metaphoric, proverbial, cultural. Okay, and if we work only at the word for word level, we're not going to go very far with this, right? So, what about the human layer? All right, because we are also a part of the process. Let's not think that we are the ones who uh, just communicate things. Now we're also part of the of the mix of the situation of the challenge or the problem. We're part of the problem. Why is that? Because there's this human error element that is unavoidable. We cannot say people cannot be involved in the process. We're part of it. So I'd like to bring in this metaphor that comes from Italian. As you can see here, traduttore traditore, right? That's what the Italians say. If you are a translator, you have to be careful because you could be a traitor. Okay? Why is that? Because there's this element of mistrust or, people thinking that the translator could be dishonest or be done on purpose, right? So we just don't know. So since we rely on someone for legal matter, someone else for legal matter, legal issue, we should understand that a translator uh, plays an important role in the process, and maybe if a person is not trusted as a professional who can, do the work required of them, eh, they're going to be disregarded or maybe mistrusted or whatever problem there could be. Translators have been killed in the past because of this, and I'm going to bring in some examples. Others have been taken on trial because of mistakes made, um, and those mistakes we don't know. Probably those were on purpose. Maybe those were negligible type of work that they perform at a moment. But the consequences is the ultimate topic here. So being truthful and trusted is the real challenge for a translator. Okay? Someone needs to who is involved in this activity, professional activity, needs to show display a, a great deal of professionalism and explain everything in detail, right? So that people don't feel that they're being used. So this is the real challenge, right? And this takes us to an important topic here, right? Okay, we have to make sure that people know that we understand the source language material or whatever book or resource that is, right? We have to make sure people know that we understand it fully. Most of the problems with translation come from not understanding the source, right? The source language, the source topic. If with this, then there is going to be a problem with the work that is coming after. So ultimately, what is required is for a person to translate from their native language, right, into probably a second language in many cases. In other cases, translators are only allowed to do it one way, maybe both ways. But in most of the cases, the ideal is that the person is a translator into their language, into their native language, mother language, so to speak, right? So in some countries, you're not allowed to translate into a second language. You should only be able to translate into your first language, which is your mother language. That's the situation. That's the situation. Right? Okay. Good. Now let's start referring to each one of the layers, right? The layers. Syntactic problems. Okay. Most of the syntactic problems that we're having with the English Spanish, Spanish English pair deal with this situation that I'm referring to in this slide. What is that? We have issues with articles. We have issues with articles, right? There are way too many of them, pretty common, and we have very, limited numbers of articles in English, right? So okay, I'd like to ask you a question. Which language do you think has most of the articles? English or Spanish? Which one do you think has more articles?
Excuse me, can you repeat the question, please?
Sure. The question is this. So, let me put it this way. Which language from English or Spanish do you think is the most difficult for you to learn articles? Articles.
Spanish.
Yes. And it's a fragmented language in that regard, but English also has challenges, right? Um, most of the mistakes Spanish speakers make are called Hispanicisms. And generally, most of them in common terms are overusing articles, right? Okay. Underusing them, which is the opposite thing, that's most of the cases called an Anglicism. So the situation is that there are way too many of them in Spanish and very limited ones in English, and this creates some gap. This gap is a syntactic layer trouble in communication. Someone who is translating needs to be aware of this, right? We should say that overusing them in Spanish, that's what is expected from a translator from Hispanic or Spanish speaking background. Okay? The opposite, underusing them, is what most of our Anglo translators would do, right? So we have some issues here that I'd like to bring in just to have an example, presented here. So instead of saying el tranvía llamado el deseo, right? Right? People may say things like el tranvía llamado deseo. That el deseo, right? That article element, it does not prevent the meaning from being communicated, but there is a mistake over there, and the mistake is syntactic, right? We have a grammar problem over there, okay? A misuse of some part of speech, in this case, the article, that was overlooked or left out. And why is it a relevant mistake? Because this is a name, right? A title of a literary work. So we cannot make a mistake with the literary work meaning, right? We have a problem over there because you're skipping some element. You're changing somewhat meaning of a name, and this is like sinful in nature. So there. Second is people could say something like someone translating could be saying something or writing something like Juan bet on the horse number 7. You see the problem over there, right? I think this is probably much more visible because the number that the over there, that doesn't make any sense. It's just wordiness, right? More natural or communicative languages on horse number 7, right? Straight to the word. So these are the kinds of mistakes that will happen uh, syntactically speaking. As I was telling you before, it's a good thing that you take some notes because I'm going to be probably showing you some of these kinds of mistakes later on through Google Classroom for you to identify where the problem is. So now you know something about that kind of work that I'm going to be posting over there in Classroom. Remember, let me just go back very quickly here to recap. So overusing articles is Hispanicism, right? And underusing them, that's mostly Anglicism as a mistake, okay? As kinds of mistakes that could occur, right? So we have some more issues here with articles. Let's take a look at this. So man is mortal, okay? Important to establish that because we're talking about man is like mankind, right? It's a species, human species. So using el hombre, it's more, appropriate than to say hombre es, right? Hombre es does not alter meaning, but it is beheading part of the idea that you are trying to communicate. So I like books. We know the mistake, right? Los libros. It's important to say that so that we refer to different kinds of books because that's what it's implied. Okay? Not there. Are some problems here that we call telegraphic style, right? Okay. And a person knows a little Spanish, not very correct at that, will be making mistakes of this sort. And we are familiar with this kind of things. And it's not that it is broken because it is not broken, but it is highly inappropriate and requires work. It requires revision from someone who could prevent this. Now, how will you say this? How will you say this instead? As a native speaker of Spanish, of course. What's your input here? What should be your input here? well, there are different possibilities, right? But now you should be taking note of this because it's all of it is articles. Okay, it's a very complicated thing to deal with. Just as for ESL learners or EFL learners, prepositions are a challenge. For English speaking counterparts, learning articles in Spanish is a big challenge. It's a big challenge. So let us take a look here, a couple of cases here. So take a look at them and let me know what you think of them. I'd like to have your impressions. So, but first, take a look, please.
Well, I'll say that it is here the use of doctor for both, and we have in Spanish doctora as the female version of the profession. So we have the case of gender, number, and also a feminine or masculine roles, the identification. That would be the point.
I agree with
You
you.
also the article.
Right, the article, absolutely, yes. She has an occupation. What's her occupation? She's a doctor. So in Spanish we say ella es doctora. Ella es doctora. We don't need una doctora. That una, no. What about I like music?
Same. We're talking about articles. What I meant was that the article have different situations which are not applicable for either language, English or Spanish. So that is the case. But yes, definitely, it's the article. We don't have to say la música in English, but just say playing music, and that's it. So it is an article.
So instead of me gusta la música, will you say something else?
In Spanish, we can't. In Spanish, we can't because that is not that definite. But we have that the article D, it's useless or it is not used in a, and it's a syntactic issue, as you mentioned, in English.
Very good, very good. And yeah.
Music is abstract and is uncountable now.
Okay. All right. Accountable noun. All right. Depending on okay, on the kind of noun you're dealing with. Now here, me gusta la música. We're constrained by this because this is what is expected in Spanish, right? But in the first case, it's not the same, right? Like music, me gusta la música, right? It's necessary to place la. So when we say he's in the hospital, all right? What is the problem here? Is there a problem with this?
To be add, right?
I think it's about meaning mostly, you know. This is the problem with word for word translation. He's in the hospital. It's está hospitalizado. Right? That's what I think the sentence implies, not that he is physically at that location. Okay. So yeah, that this is tricky over here, right? To me, it's more él está hospitalizado. That's what I would instead have, right? Children need love. You know the problem. cannot say el amor, right? Doesn't make any sense. We have a problem over this, an overuse over here. We have an overuse. She has experience, experiencia. Oh, this is another overuse. It's another overuse. In some cases, like gusta la música, it's necessary to have a preposition here. But most of, I mean, actually, the article over here. But in other cases, it is not, right? So when we see it from Spanish to English, what is the problem with la vida? La vida es corta.
It's the same with the article, Professor.
We should
Because
leave out
in
Life
English,
short.
Mhm.
life is short, right?
Yes, it's like when you are just doing exactly the same like you were saying before when you translate word by word.
All right. Anybody else? So, what about él juega el fútbol? Problem, right?
The overuse of articles.
Article problem. Very good. Okay. Um, ella tiene miedo de la oscuridad. She's afraid of the darkness.
She is afraid of darkness. El the, it's left out.
Mhm.
Yeah,
She's afraid of darkness.
that's right.
Do you agree with knowledge is power?
Yeah,
Okay. He's at school.
school.
Okay. So what I have to stress here is that um, this overuses and misuses affect meaning. eh, Probably when you see it first, you don't see the impact. But as you move along in the text and you accumulate 7, 8, 9, 10 of these mistakes, then there is issue with quality that's very serious. It's getting in the way of meaning. And this is something that we have to try to be mindful of, not that we can prevent, because believe it or not, even professional translators will make mistakes of the simplest nature just by being tired or overlooking or being in a hurry will cause a person to make mistakes. So it's always handy, like, to recall that articles tend to be a problem. It's a recurring problem. Prepositions. This is also part of a syntactic layer of issues here. So for the Spanish-speaking translator, the problem is compounded by the fact that Spanish has only 20 prepositions and English has 65. Okay, we don't generally keep track of these numbers, but these numbers are important. They're important because they somewhat should, call to our attention that we have a problem, potential problem in our hands, right? So native speakers are frequently betrayed by subtle misuses of prepositions because there are few logical rules to govern their use, right? They're idiosyncratic and a lot of memorization is involved. Let me give you a personal example. I sent a draft of a paper to a journal in the United States. I did that back in 24, no, 23, I think I did that. And well, to my surprise, when I moved from my first point of contact in the international journal, they had a reviewer take a look at my paper. They immediately told me like, you need to have someone who's a native speaker revise this. And then I started wondering why, because I had already used filtered it through some other resources. They said some style problem is present in your draft. They told me. And well, they were very nice to let me know what the problem was. And believe it or not, I had some preposition problems over there. That instead of saying on, I should have said on to. And instead of saying through, I should have used across. And things like instead of saying um, in, I should have into, and these kind of things. Stylistic. Since I am out of that context, some of these were like I was blinded by my, grammar books or my grammar reference materials. Okay? And then I had to undergo a thorough revision of my full draft before I could move further into this. And it's something that if you ever decide to publish an article, for example, in English, you you'll have to go through this with them because they're going to be asking you, okay, we have some native speaker revisers who can take a look at your paper. We charge, I don't know, they have their own rates. In some cases, it's $100, $200. If you're a non-native writer, second language writer, trying to publish into English, you have to become aware of this. And this is coming from someone in a university. I'm a college professor, like many of you are. And this is something that we go through either we like it or not, because it's part of being non-native or second language writer. As a non-native speaker, that's one thing. That's the speaking. Second language writers is another status or part of another phenomenon that is happening. Don't think that they don't write in Spanish. They do. Many of them, they do. But they, of course, generally they pay. They pay in order to be published in Spanish. Because they need some revisor who will go over those drafts. So yes, prepositions tend to be a problem, and they're a problem because of style in writing. Let's just take a look at one case, a traditional case that we in language teaching, English teaching, we trip over this one, the use of n, right? So in many cases, it's omitted, right? But it's necessary, um, in which in some cases to add it, right? So let's take a look. Take a look at the examples at the bottom. Let me know if you agree with this. I'm referring to the sentences at the bottom in quotation marks. Okay, now I have a question for you. Is there a rule, a fast and easy rule you can think of on when to use prepositions in these cases? Just look at the prepositions. No, there aren't, right? So when you say el juez miró al cuadro, at the painting, right? Then you're using at over there. It's not in, right? So when you look at the second one and you read, he attends the university, there is no preposition over there, but you need to have one in Spanish a la universidad. And I knew Juan. You're gonna say, yo conocí Juan, you're gonna see Juan. You need a preposition over here. So there is no fast and easy rule. And sometimes you have to go by instinct. You will make mistakes, and the mistakes are unpreventable. Unpreventable, listen to the word unpreventable. And the reason is because the way languages have been uh, syntactically framed and organized. There are areas in which there are no rules, and we go by use and experience. A couple more cases for as por para, right? You always listen, people making mistakes concerning the use of this preposition. Take a look at the cases in quotations. Okay, you see here, say, he came for his book. Okay? Vino por su libro, right? She studied in order to learn. Estudió para aprender. We have an preposition a for verbs of motion, and to indicate a person as a direct object, right? So this is like very generic rule that we need this a, for a direct object, right? So that's most of the cases. But it's just one out of who knows how many cases, right? Comenzó a correr, Pedro ama a María. So,
And
Anna, sure,
yeah,
let me go back.
I would like to make a comment. Right. I think here the issue is that grammar has its structure to be followed, but we have that it is a stylistic when, or it turns into a style issue when we have to select not necessarily the word or the preposition because of the grammar function, but the form. How is it being used in the specific case? And it could change then the message or the content of it. And that is the case. That was
Appreciate it, highly appreciate it. So true. And it's an ongoing struggle, right, to deal with these things because this is at some point it becomes a trap because it's impossible to avoid making mistakes and at some point tripping over these difficult areas because these tiny fragments that should accompany elements in a sentence, we even falter in our own L1, which is Spanish. We might even falter and not write stylistically correct. So that's why stylistics is an important area in translation and in both languages, English and Spanish. Without studying the way languages have come to, to their present day form, it's not possible for a person to uh, aspire to write really well. That's why writing books is challenging, writing articles is challenging. All of this is uphill type of work because you are facing constraints which are natural. These are natural constraints. Very good. So, okay. Not that we want to scare you away from translation or anything like this. No, but we need to gain awareness of the challenge of the activity. And, there are things that the computer could do for us, but if we don't have a computer, we might have to solve it by ourselves. And it's an issue, right? Okay, look at this case of pronouns, right? How could we translate that? Shall we? Like not in this case a question, but so it's more like some suggestion. So let's take our medicine, shall we? do you think there is a loss of meaning over here in between these two? I'm talking about the medicine, shall we? La enfermera me dijo que tomara la medicina. There is an element of loss of meaning over here, and this is troublesome because this is not exactly equivalent. Both forms they're not equivalent, and there is not any single reference to this element of suggestion in the original in English. That's on top. And this is troublesome for someone, especially if you are transcribing some maybe interview or you're dealing with someone's I don't know, deposition or some transcription of some people's ideas, or this could even be legal, right? You have some legal implication. Very good. So okay, this is part of it. Okay. So now I'm going to show you some cases here, like for you to look at, and I'd like to have your opinion about them, right? And these are mistranslated. Let me see. It's kind of an exercise. We have some preposition problem here. Let me know what you think of it. So which one is right? Let's go straight to it. Um, Professor Veronica, sorry to interrupt. Whatever it is that you guys doing back there.
Mm-hmm. Tell me.
Much aware of our break times. If there is break or something that you have scheduled, let me know. It's 10:15 right now. Let me know about it.
Yeah. But do you want to do the break now?
I don't know. What time did you schedule it originally?
We thought about 10:30, but we can do it now if you want to make a break.
No, not at all.
From 10. Not at all.
10:30 is fine.
10:30. Okay.
Wonderful.
Good.
Thank you. Okay, so moving on. Let me know, guys, what your answers are for this. So now that you've looked at it, let me know which one do you think is right. So you have to pick one of the two. Please let me know. So let me know which one is right. So number one is?
I depend on.
Second one. I depend on.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Number two?
She's married to a doctor.
Great. Thank you.
Can you explain the problem to me?
I definitely agree with you. Very good. Thank you. Number four.
I attended the meeting.
Thank you very much. Number five.
They got married in 2019.
Very good. Okay. The only one that I'd like someone to bring in some explanation about is number three. Now, why did you say? Can you explain the problem to me? As a better option.
As a better option. To me, when we the direct, I mean, the objective form, it's placed always at the end of the sentence or question. In this case, the question. It's a grammar. It's a grammar structure. We don't say, can you explain me the problem? But can you explain the problem? It's direct object to me.
Exactly. It should come right after the verb. That's the correct position.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Exactly.
Yeah. And yes, this to me and this particles at the end of sentences create problems to translators, because we tend to overlook or play down the role of these nuances, so to speak, in the text, or in people's words. So it's necessary for us to gain awareness of them. Very good. And as you see, a lot of it is idiomatic, because when you say depend on or married to, what you're really offering is an idiomatic form, idiomatic uses of language. Right? So very good. Thank you very much for your input. Okay, we have a couple more before 10:30. So just take a brief look and let me know what you think of them.
Okay, number one. With years, we use preposition in instead of at.
Absolutely. Thank you. Number two.
I relax on the weekend.
That is right. On the weekend. What about number three?
I'm thinking about you.
Absolutely.
Maybe I'm thinking of you.
That
Yes.
could be also. Very good.
Mhm.
4.
She asked her friend for help.
Yeah, like it better than the other one. Absolutely. 5.
The expression be good at is definitely that preposition, at instead of in.
Agreed.
Yes.
And number 6?
And the second option is the correct one, at the airport.
Early. Yeah, we have the issue of collocations in English, which does not exist in any form in Spanish.
We can't hear you.
No. I don't know if it's my connection, but Professor, your microphone or your audio goes away at certain points.
Now? Is this better now? Hello?
Yeah, right now, yes.
Right.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know. For some reason, sometimes internet goes a little bit unstable. Probably that's why. I apologize for this problem. So we have here many cases in which we are dealing with collocations, as I was saying. That's number 6, for example. So when we say we arrived to the airport early, arrived to as a collocation is a lot more common than we arrived at. This arrived at is possible, but it's not as idiomatic, or maybe if we're speaking, it's not as colloquial. So I would definitely go for arrived to the airport early. Okay? In the case of he's good at math, uh, that's the one that you picked. I agree with you. Good at, be good at. That's another case of a collocation. And as it goes on with the other cases, uh, this is very idiomatic. Uh, this is exactly what makes it so challenging, troublesome for translators. Because believe it or not, sooner or later you're going to find a problem, find yourselves with problems with these kinds of words that you need to combine, right? Okay, very good. We should be moving on to adjectives, but I'd like to know if we could stop here for a while. Let me just check my equipment, because I'm getting some issue here. Do you still listen to me fine?
Huh?
Do you guys listen to me fine and clearly?
Yes. But
Yes.
sometimes it goes, but you come back. But we can
Okay.
hear you.
All
Mhm.
right. I probably have to change the device. Let me see what the situation is.
Okay. So do you want to do that now
I think we should.
when we start our break?
That's right. That's right.
Okay. So we'll have 15 minutes for break so you can go to the bathroom, get some coffee, get some tea, and we'll be back in 15 minutes, 10:40.
All right. Wonderful.
Okay, you're
Right.
welcome. Back.
All right.
10:40.
All right. Wonderful. So, well, here we go. Um, regarding the syntactic layer, another important topic is adjectives. Okay. So adjectives have a very tricky situation. Look, when you say antigua casa, it's not the same as saying casa antigua. All right. So when you say antigua casa, listen to it. We're referring to your former house, somewhere you lived in before. When we say casa antigua, that's old house. That's a house that's old in its structure. So it's a different situation. And some adjectives in Spanish have this quality that they will change their meaning depending on where you place them. They can go either before or after a noun being modified, and that will alter meaning. And it's a topic that we need to gain some awareness of, and that belongs to a glossary. Absolutely. Take a look at un gran hombre, great man. It's not the same as saying un hombre grande, large man. First one refers to a man's quality because of his, I don't know, importance in history, maybe. And the second one describes the physical aspect of the human being. So those are kinds of things to be aware of and pay attention to, right? So the stressed form of adjectives, as they call it, is more common in Spanish than in English, right? So by stress, I mean using pronouns, right? Or using some pronoun that will emphasize ownership, right? Ownership. So we have un libro mío, a book of mine, okay? More common, my book, la amiga suya, the friend of hers, her friend, it's more common. We don't use these forms, right? These forms generally do not translate very well between English and Spanish. And this is part of the challenge of translating from Spanish into English. Uh, this is part of that layer of troublesome and challenging elements, right? So, some adjective trouble, okay? I would like you to take a look at these cases here. And let me know what you think of them. So when we have a word like actual, right? The actual, right? Okay. The actual present is very popular. Okay? The actual present is very popular. We have a mistranslation over here, right? We should never um, say anything or write anything like this, or let any grammar checker or any software offer us this option, because this is troublesome. The correct form is the current present is very popular. Sensible is even trickier because the meaning needs to be very carefully, gauged or measured. She's very sensible and cries easily. The correct form is she's very sensitive and cries easily. Pretended. He told a pretended story. Okay, um, not a very good choice. Instead, a fake or invented story is a better option. Take a look at constipated. Okay, I'm constipated and have a runny nose. I have a cold. Okay, because constipation doesn't have anything to do with having flu or cold symptoms. Sympathetic. My teacher is very sympathetic. My teacher is nice, kind, or friendly. So adjective come adjective challenge or trouble comes in different forms. So from what we have seen, the main cases words that go together. The placement of the adjective is a problem sometimes. Okay, sometimes you have to be paying a lot of attention to where you're going to place that adjective and how that alters the meaning, the overall meaning of the idea in a sentence. Second challenge is the use of this stress forms in which you show some relationship or ownership. This is trouble also. Whenever you see mio, suyo, mine, hers, all of that, you have to be very much careful about what you're translating. Some of these adjectives, they're false cognates, right? They're false cognates, and they're partial false cognates too. And this is challenging, as you will have probably you're going to be in trouble because you're using it and you're not sure about how you're going to use it. Okay? Words such as sensible and sensitive, pretended and invented, constipated, cold, sympathetic, and friendly. These are troublesome combinations to be aware of. So this is part of the syntactic layer, part of our syntactic layer. So a little bit of this, little more of this. So she has a large family. She has a big family. Which one of the two do you think describes it better? If you ask me, if you ask me, probably, in my opinion, a big family is better than a large family. Okay, because families do not come in sizes, and large is generally associated with comparison, whereas when you say something like big, big is more descriptive. You cannot have like a medium family or a small family. Well, small family that's possible, but not a medium one. So probably large is not as appropriate. So this tiny detail could probably create some style problem. Okay, we have to be aware of style. Take a look at the second case. This is a delicate topic to explain, right? Delicate. We have a cognate problem here. It's delicate, of course. That's not preventing the person to understand what we mean. The word fits the bill. However, it's not appropriate, or it does not fully explain the idea idiomatically. This is a sensitive topic to explain, more appropriate. I'm not comfortable speaking English. That's possible. Being comfortable under your skin, this is not something that you should describe in words, because this is, it's like you cringe at speaking English. And no one cringes at communicating in a language, really. What you do is that you avoid it because you don't have the proficiency, but you cannot cringe at it. So it's not something that you're uncomfortable, really. It's more like you're not at ease or confident. Take a look at the next example. He's very educated with his parents, right? Educated. Um, People may understand that, but it's not even in writing or not even in speaking. It's okay to say educated or educated, right? Education refers to something else. Okay, it's more. He's very polite. It's better. That's a very rare movie. So people might understand you, but rare is a word that belongs to some other description, right? It's weird, maybe strange. It's a lot more appropriate. Okay, so this kinds of things occur a lot. Okay, occur a lot. Let's see. Okay, so let's take a look at some of these mistranslations, and let's try to take note of some of these problems. Right. So we say She's a doctor in the hospital. She's a doctor at the hospital. One or two. Number one or number two. She's a doctor in the hospital or she's a doctor at the hospital. She's a doctor in the hospital. It's number one. At the hospital, number two. Hello?
You're asking if which one will be the correct option? Yeah, I think the
Absolutely.
last one. She's a doctor at the hospital.
At the hospital, of course, because if she's a doctor in the hospital, chances are that she is a patient, and her role is not a role of a patient. At the hospital, it's more like a doctor who is working at the hospital. It's a lot more, it's more meaningful. So looking at, for instance, number two. Let me see. Sorry, let me go back to it. Okay. Depende de la situación. Our first option is it depends of the situation. It depends on the situation.
It
Which
depends.
one of the two?
It depends on the situation.
Very good. Number two. That's right. If we look at on the other side of the slide, we have a María le gusta el café. We have Maria likes the coffee. Maria likes coffee. Which of the two? Number one or number two?
Maria likes coffee. I mean, in general, yes, coffee.
Absolutely no article whatsoever is required here. Okay? This is an overuse. This is the instance of the overuse of the articles that could happen. So when we have another case like es una casa grande blanca, which one of the two do you think does the work? It is a house. It is a big white house. Which one?
It's a big white house.
It's a big white house.
And what is the reason for that, please?
First of all, the most important concept there is the noun house, so it should be at the end. An adjective should go before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's part of it. But remember, it's also that in general, when we describe items in English, we go for size, then color. This is an unwritten rule about adjectives that what you do first is you refer to the size, which is the most visible feature, and
Right.
then you will
You're
refer
right.
to the color. Second in order of importance. So yeah, that's the behind the reason why. Not that we need to know, but it's like that. Generally, when you describe something, you refer to size, and then you refer to color, and it's a unwritten rule. So when we have something like la información es importante, we don't need any word in between over there. See, went back. Okay, we're moving on. Okay, we have some more cases here in English. So, ella es una profesora en la universidad. She's a professor at the university. Of course, that makes sense. Estamos de acuerdo con la decisión. We agree with the decision. Okay. Le di el libro a Juan. I gave Juan the book. Okay. It's a lot more appropriate than to say I gave the book to Juan. I gave Juan the book. This is much better, more direct. Compraron un coche nuevo rojo. They bought a new red car. In this case, instead of size, we're using a negative referring to the car age, right? How old the car is. So not size like in big house or anything. It's more like new first and then the color. Color comes after. So new red car. So patience is important for learning languages. La paciencia es importante para aprender idiomas. Okay. So we have different instances of using prepositions correctly in order to communicate meaning. Some other cases here, okay, a little bit more challenging. When we read something like la libertad de expresión es fundamental en la democracia, freedom of expression is fundamental in a democracy. This is a little bit more intricate, right? In a democracy, okay? Freedom of expression. Look at the second example. A los estudiantes se les explicó el problema con claridad. The problem was explained clearly to the students. So what happens here is that we are changing the position, right? We're changing the position of the object, and we're using it as the head of a sentence in the English version because we need to be more nominal, right? We cannot have the object as the starting element or initial element in a good sentence that makes sense. So what was explained? What was explained was the problem. To whom was it explained? To the students. So here, transposing, right? Transposing these elements plays an important role, putting the object of the actual sentence. Here, however, we're trying to preserve, right? Modulating here because you see, se les explicó, explain. They're trying to keep the structure of the original, and in order to do so, the transposing plays an important role for preserving tense, or for trying to keep the tense in the past forms, some form of a pretérito, right? Looking at the other cases on the right, we read, insistió revisáramos el informe, right? In order to keep it as close to the original, he insisted that we review the report. Of course, we know that we have a case or instance here of sujeto tácito, right? Which there is a missing subject over here. It's important to place it in English, otherwise the sentence is headless. So we need to have a he over there, right? Trying to modulate the original in que. So you see that we, all right? That plays an important role over there. Not that we always should be using, or should we include that over there. Insist to review the report. That is possible, but that will alter meaning, right? Because there is this emphasis in the collective we, right? That we mentioned. Oh, that was in a previous slide. Es una persona muy sensible. He's a very sensitive person. Okay, he's a very sensitive person. Right? Sensitive. Because it's a better descriptor of a human quality. Fue ingresado en el hospital después del accidente. He was taken to hospital after the accident. Okay? So another case of sujeto tácito and so forth. But this use of adjectives, right? And the combination of prepositions over there also plays an important role in producing a good sentence. So all the sentences we're giving you are good. Okay? They're all good. In classroom, probably chances are, right, we're going to be looking at some translations. And what I would like to receive from you is the critique regarding why you think these translations are good. Okay, I just referred here to instances of trying to modulate the tense or preserve the tense in order for the two versions to be as equivalent as possible. We should always aim at that. We don't necessarily get to that point, but we should be always, that should be our goal, preserve structure. And sometimes that's determined by sentence word count, if it is possible. Sometimes it is not possible and it's necessary to write more. But our sentences in Spanish need to be shorter. Okay? So if you're going to be translating from English to Spanish, you have to try to make your Spanish sentences as short as possible. If you're going to be writing it the other way, you should try to lengthen your sentences as much as possible as to be as encompassing and clear as possible. So that's the some unwritten rules for translation quality. So I'm going to repeat this again. Chances are in classroom, one of the exercises I'm going to be giving you is instances of pairs of sentences like this. And we're going to be working at the sentence level right now. It's important that you should have some criteria as provide a positive or negative critique about why you think some translation is better than another, or why do you think this is a very good option or a good or possible option. If you could think of a better option, you should also provide it. It's also the idea behind this. Okay, very good. So we have lots of cognates. It's very common for us to run into them. Okay, and we need to pay attention to them because in English and Spanish pair language pair combinations, when we translate, we're going to be running into words that have the same root. Most of them are of a Latin root that we're sharing them between the two languages. We need to be able to get them into their proper category. So we have false cognates. They look similar but have different meanings, completely different meanings, right? We have embarazada versus embarrassed. These are troublesome pairs. Partial false cognates share some meaning but diverge in others, right? They're misleading only in some cases, like attend and assist. Okay, that's some important case. Sometimes we have others like precise and maybe exact. That's a possible case. Preciso and precise, they're not the same. Okay. Um, there. The thing is, there's the key difference is the degree of deception. Okay, total false friends or total false cognates are completely misleading. The partial ones offer partial truth, and others hide crucial meanings, right? That we need to look at. Okay, so some of the most common ones are you see there actualmente, actually, asistir, assist, and embarrassed, embarazada. Those are very common. They happen more than we think of. We could think of. Okay, I'm going to be offering here some cases that I think I'm going to be later on providing cases for you to look at in more detail. Okay, and we're going to be establishing some categories. We have false cognates. Those are completely different in terms of meaning. Partial cognates, we have to be careful because they are not not very clear. And partial false cognate that we need to be very careful about because they are like tricky and they may even uh, be replacing one another in some cases. And you may run into cases and assume that they're always the same. So we have abandonar to give up something completely. It's like to leave temporarily. Presidente abandonó el salón. We have acta. No, it's a false cognate with act. Act is something else, right? So formal written minutes of a meeting, right? So leyó el acta de la reunión. It's not the same as an act, which is in English a law, more like a law, right? So that's what we are looking at over here in the example at the bottom. We have the lay Taft-Hartley. That's the Taft-Hartley Act, right? So we have other cases that are troublesome, such as actual. So we have the false cognate with actual or real, right? So it's more like current or present. like my present day home is in Washington. So we have adicto, it's a partial cognate, addicted to a vice, right? Partial cognate. And the reason is because it has another layer of meaning, like partisan or follower. So someone who is a follower, uh, someone who belongs to a group. Soy adicto de Menem, just to give an example. And this is possible in proper Spanish anywhere that you may use the word adicto to mean that you are a member of a group or you are um, sympathizer of a group. Admitir is a partial false cognate to admit that something is true. Okay, so you see that you may have some other meanings that are much more appropriate, like that entrada. It's more than anything. No, it's not like it's possible to say that you admit some truth, or you admit some fact, or you admit some information to be true, or so. But it's more chances are that this word could be used more like into leaving someone in. So it's a partial false cognate, right? So advertencia is a false cognate. You know, it's not advertisement. Uh, we have to use some proper word like anuncio instead, right? Uh, some kind of a warning. It's more like anything. So advertisement doesn't have anything to do with it. Another key important element that we need to look at is the use of proverbs and idioms. They occur a lot in translation, and we have to look at them in detail and gain knowledge of Spanish language, proverbs, and we don't think we have to learn all this, but if you have to interpret, you have to be able to provide some very quick solution to some of this abstracted or kind of cryptic sequences that your person could produce, the one that you are interpreting for. So we strongly recommend gaining background in this area of proverbs, and of course paying attention to the cognates, so that we use words that are as appropriate to the target, right, to the source language. So don't look a gift horse in the mouth. This is an important one to know. You see there, put your faith in God and keep your powder dry. So what is this powder? Powder is like um in this case is like you're trying to refer to what you need in order to do things. Um um it's like wishing and doing. Uh, Traditionally, this is the equivalent. So you see there, with great difficulty, a duras penas, with great difficulty. You should not be looking for anything obscure or that could mislead communication. Is like with great difficulty, as simple as that. A escondidas, without the knowledge of, or simply secretly or under the table, under the table. A grandes rasgos, so briefly in outline, as simple as that. A la americana, Dutch treat, eh? Eh? A la carrera, on the run, a lo largo de, ¿no? Bordering, along the length of. Okay? So these equivalences are important to, start establishing. As I was saying before, I'll probably offer you instances in which I would request your critique about the use of proverbs and idioms and other forms, right? Like for us to look at. Very good. Now, in this certificate program, in our program, this program of ours, Diplomado, which is 160 hours, because this is the length of the program that we're going to be covering. It's very necessary for us to, as I was saying before, have a background, gain some background information about translation, because translation is grounded in history. Okay, translation is not something that is a phenomenon that occurs today. It is something that has been happening and it's been in need of human history, special efforts of individuals who stood out in his commitment to try to communicate ideas of their cultural origin, about ideas, novel ideas, different ideas. Okay, so this history of translation is going to take us through different periods of time. I am forced to refer to them because that's what translation essentially comes from. It all boils down to history so that we understand uh, why people do things the way they do it nowadays. It did not occur by accident. It was a trial and error effort that underwent for a long, long time. And in the case of English and Spanish, that took us to America, to our continent, believe it or not, during the Spanish colony. So that is why it's also an important part uh, of this seminar, of this Diplomado, to have some historic background elements of translation. Okay. So refer to the Bible. There is no as the direction is humanity to spread the word. Okay, spread the word, and the word is the holy word of God. And since this is core value, I'm just referring very quickly here to a variety of them. And we have. Is there a problem with the audio? Everything okay? Hello.
Everything
Hello.
fine.
Yes, it is
All right.
heard.
Okay. Good. Good. So starting from Latin, right, which was the lingua franca of the time, I'm referring to the death of our Lord on a cross. We have that Latin language of the Roman Empire, the lingua franca of the Roman Empire that had to communicate Asia and Europe, or some other languages which gain importance as the Bible began being translated. We have all these different languages: Syriac, Coptic, and Ethiopic, and Gothic, and Georgian, and Armenian. And as you know, these are languages that belong to present day Eastern Europe, Northern Africa, the Middle East, and so forth. And the quality of the translation could not be established. And many of them were literal translations. So this is the first case of the problem with word for word translation that did not preserve meaning. And so these different Bibles, different Bible versions or new versions of the New Testament, essentially, they were not the same. Okay. So it was not possible to make sure that the quality was the same. So what do we know about Saint Jerome? Saint Jerome was the first person who attempted to offer similar quality to the different versions of the Bible translations. So we have a Pope, Damasus, ordered this Saint Jerome. Proper name is Eusebius Hieronymus, right? To do a fresh translation of the New Testament. Okay, one that was more controlled and uh, was enabled. He was enabled to ensure the same quality of the different versions. So since he was not the best translator of the Bible, he was a translator who used a detailed and analytical record of a mental process. Okay, and with him began the theory of translation. Okay, because as it seems, since this is a mental effort, produce some work and replicating the same process is what ensures the quality of the ultimate product. So translation is a work in progress, yes, but it is also a product. And the quality of the product is what determines if the translation was good or not. So it's important to have someone who would record or follow some mental process. Okay. And we call that process the theory of translation. Okay. And what is the translator's dilemma, the translation dilemma really? So do I translate words or do I translate meaning? This is ultimately the the question, right? The $1 million question here. So he approached the task in a disciplined way as he was commanded by Pope, and it was probably a serious problem not to follow the church, the Catholic Church instructions of at that time, because it was necessary for people to abide by the rules. And in long story short, he went back to the Hebrew and Aramaic texts. And why those? Those the language spoken in the areas where our Lord lived, during his passing through this earth. And his dilemma was solved the following way: non verbo et verbo sed summum expire sense, sense for sense and not word for word. And this is where this comes from. And by the way, September the 30th is a feast day for Saint Jerome, patron of translators. Okay, his approach very analytical. He was willing to do it as subjectively. Okay, and he was a very courageous man, right? Because this could be a problem if you did not translate, for instance, the Bible, such an important book for civilization, the proper way. So Europe became what it is uh, because of Christianity. And Christianity, the core of Christianity is the Bible. So without the Bible, probably the European civilization possible simply because there wasn't any unifying element or core element or cornerstone element. Okay, that was important. So his admonition to translate the sense of text, not literal words, is a basic guidance for translators today. Okay? So this is not because it is old, it's useless now. It is the same problem. We're facing the same problems at present. Okay, we need to go for sense. If we don't understand what we're reading, then we cannot translate appropriately. This is what you will find in all books about translation theory, or that have to do with translation studies. Okay? Everything boils down to meaning, of course, but you need to understand what you're reading so that you can render some possible translation. And the meaning is not in the words, it's in the sense. It's in the sense of the words together. So texts, chunks of texts, ideas behind, right? This takes us to challenges and solutions. We have a problem here with translation all the time. We have different levels of meaning, okay? Layers of meaning. We have surface and deep meaning. Okay, so when we deal with surface meaning, what we do is we offer some assumed understanding of what we are being exposed to. Listen to the words I'm using. Assume meaning, right? We assume things. This is surface level understanding. Okay. Okay. And then it's important to move, a little bit deeper. It's important to deal with cultural features and biases. Okay? And we need to make sure people who will listen to or will read the message get for some idea. Sometimes translators resort to footnotes, some asterisk notes, or maybe some kind of note that will help them, or some end note that will clarify an idea. Sometimes it is not possible to explain everything. Not work go. We referred before to Mildred Larson's, right? Mildred Larson. After after uh, Saint Jerome's okay, version of the theory of translation, this is probably a person who created a different or maybe more systematic or very well organized structure of how a translator should process content. So everything begins from a source language. That's here at the left, at the top, the left side. And then you see the surface meaning, right? That's the surface that we were referring to. That's the words, the sounds, the grammar, what you will deal with, firsthand, right? Firsthand content. Then you need to move into that text in order to discover the meaning. Of course, this is the most challenging part because this research that a translator, because there are different layers of meaning involved in it. Is the ideas and concepts. This is what she refers to as the kernel. The kernel is like the core, right? Kernel meaning the essential, the bottom line topic. Then it's important to re-express the meaning, and that will take you to another layer, which is the target language level, back to surface level meaning. So according to Larson, this is the way a translator should systematically process some text they're going to deal with. First, you need to read it, right? Discover the meaning, get to the deeper meaning, the ideas and concepts behind it, and then you need to re-express it the best you can. Another possible way or another theory of translation um, that was created during the 20th century came from this gentleman, Eugene Nida, right? This model refers not to discovering, but more than decoding through analysis, source language information, getting to the deeper meaning, and there must be a transfer process. That transfer process is important to be recorded. What steps were followed in order for a person to uh, deal with this original? And this is where then you do some coding through synthesis. So and then further on you move on to the target language version. But there's a decoding and coding, but you do analysis and then synthesis. And in transfer process is the key, right? The key of what you need to know. So it's transfer essentially, And then we have some example here, right? Let's take a look at some example. So we read here. So the English original context of this is a formal dinner. So the president raised his glass, right? Surface level, word for word translation would be el presidente levantó su vaso, but a translation based on deeper meaning would proceed as follows. The context is formal dinner in which table settings would include goblets of wine or water. Spanish has two different words for glass, right? Vaso, meaning a plain glass, just for drinking water, or copa for having some wine, right? Wine glass. So in the context, the situation would probably be copa, right? Instead of glass. So instead, el presidente levantó la copa, okay, instead of raised his glass. Long story short. Okay. So I don't know if this is clear to you, but the second version, raised his glass. Okay, the president raised his glass, right? Versus el presidente levantó la copa. Okay? La copa, referring to this type of wine container or water container, is better understood or more sophisticated. And this makes a difference in quality of translation. This is what makes the difference in quality of translation. Okay? I don't know if this makes sense to you or if you have an opinion about this. Instead of saying el presidente levantó su vaso, saying el presidente levantó la copa. The president raised his glass. Does this make sense to you?
Yes. Okay. Copa.
Is there, okay, why do you think it's more appropriate to say copa than to say vaso?
Hello, everyone. Professor, I think it has to do with natural translation versus literal translation. Because literal would be el presidente levantó su vaso, but it would sound more natural when we're talking about levantó su copa, to give a toast.
Okay.
And also, I
Okay.
mean, it has also to do with what we use to, I mean, in these occasions, I mean, to share and in social occasions, we use copas, we don't use glasses. You see, and it has to do with culture too. You see,
Yes,
and in English, la copa is a glass, but in Spanish, the glass is la copa. So we have to have, I mean, that clear.
Okay.
Yeah, I would add that it would be contextual. It is contextual. It depends on the situation where it's a president, maybe in an inauguration could be, and a toast, but it is contextual, how socially it is used.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
The culture and register too.
All right. Anybody else? Is there anything else you'd like to say about this? Okay, what I would like to stress out here is that there is a deeper level, there's a surface level, and there is a deeper level of translation. At a surface level, we go for our first option. First option is vaso. Take into account elements as were mentioned here by yourselves. We should be offering or rendering a translation or interpretation that contains information pertaining to the possible pictured situation, which there is maybe an opening, some kind of formal event that requires probably going for a word like goblet, but goblet will be maybe I don't know, too much. But copa could be appropriate, more appropriate. and it's a given it's a formal event, there will be, of course, this kind of glass, not necessarily for wine. That could also be for water. Okay, so going for that makes a difference in the quality of the translation or interpretation. So let's remember once more: we have an surface level, we have a deeper level of translation. Okay. Um, some of the areas that are always troublesome in translation are business and commercial English. Okay, this is probably, along with legalistic terms, of course, which is a domain by itself. It's very difficult to deal with them because we have a lot of what they call stock phrases. Okay, frases hechas. So we call these are called formally in translation, right? So these translations go for the literal level, and this is what one of you mentioned before here in your intervention. Uh, it's very true in writing letters and in the production of some of the formalities of communication. It is troublesome. Exactly, it's troublesome exactly because of the surface level and the deeper level of understanding. There's so many of them. I'm going to be posting this in a much more visible version. I'm just including it here, but there's so many of them that occur one after the other that we are supposed to know them. Let me just go back a little bit, provide a little bit more of an example. Let me just go back to it. Okay. You see a word like to bargain, that's regatear, right? Uh, this is a stock phrase. It's not that it means the same. You will not find it like that, but it's established as a correspondent word. Stock phrases. It's a word that is used to mean that. Another example here is we have a word such as uh, horario de negocio, business hours, right? There could be other ways for you to say that, but this is the right word. Well, that everybody knows what business hours is, horario de negocio. Some other people could say that atención. Another one is like file complaint or complaint. That's queja, right? We know what that is. It's reclamo. There could be other possible meanings, but we'll know the word is there to help us communicate the idea. We have something like, for example, container for cargo. That's contenedor. So for cargo shipping. That's the what I'm referring to. Already established words, expressions that occur to mean something. So this type of phrases, okay, are becoming far less frequent in Spanish, right? And formality in business correspondence avoids any humor or lightheartedness of any kind. Okay? What what they normally use is a coined expression, something very concrete. And this is a problem in translation, especially between English and Spanish, because we need to make sure we speak the same words. Here, we have a lot of correspondence where you read, for example, año 2026 at the bottom of memos at the university. Just to give an example, you read año 2026, 150 años de la reversión. Just to give an example. When you read this is what they call lemas. This is very common across organizations in Latin America. At government NGOs and all kinds of organizations, they use this in their correspondence. Okay, they appear in the letterhead or at the bottom in the signature area or signature block, they call it. When you have to translate this, and they normally come in quotation marks, this becomes some bottleneck for a translator, as they have to deal with something that is very clear in the surface, but it has a deeper meaning. That has a deeper meaning, right? So footnotes are required in many cases to get out of this constraint. I don't know if this idea is clear, right? So all of this is connected because of the issue that we're dealing here with surface meaning. You read something, but that doesn't mean everything. You need to understand admiration. Sometimes it's remembrance. Sometimes it's some kind of celebration. But since we are not familiar, it's important to understand them the best we can. So some common lemmas, we have something like sufragio efectivo, no reelección. So you may run in something like this. Let's think of somewhere like uh, electoral vote processing office, some tribunal electoral, just to give some equivalence here in our context. So, so you see this. It's a Mexican slogan of Mexican Revolution. Some equivalence is not, it's not as good. You need to go into the deep surface. You got to go under the surface and go into the kernel of meaning, the core of the meaning. This is what Larson and NIDA referred to, that you're going to read this. Yes, effective suffrage, no re-election, but you need to put an asterisk, some kind of a footnote, maybe something at the bottom that explains what this means, right? So that people know what they're referring to when they read this. Because someone out of the Mexican context will never have any idea. Not even us, because we're in Panama. We don't know anything about probably Mexicans uh, who are not well educated will have no recollection of that Porfirio Diaz was involved in Mexican revolution because of his rule was unpopular. He was an unpopular ruler, right? Look at the other one. Las Malvinas son argentinas, right? So how would you provide a translation for this? The Falklands are Argentinians. And for you to say the Falklands, that is probably a translation error. It's a mistranslation because you're providing the Anglo version of the word Malvinas. And if you use Malvinas, maybe it doesn't mean the same over there, or maybe there is a political problem with that. You need to provide some footnote explaining what the lemma that they use in communication referred to. Another case, patria libre o morir, liberty or death. So there is no instance of patria over here. So, so what does patria mean? That's the motherland, the nation. But you cannot say so free motherland or death. That doesn't make any sense really. So it's important to explain them at the bottom. Another case, Nicaragua, territorio libre de América. El Ecuador ha sido y es y será país amazónico. So how could you explain that? It's important to go into deeper meaning and not leave it just at the surface. Okay. I'd like to ask you if you've ever seen any cases of this lemmas in communication, if you've ever attempted to translate anything like this. Have you seen this?
Yeah, well, it has to do with political situation, most of them. For
Very
example,
good, very good.
the Falklands and the Malvinas, we have to remember that the Falklands were on the British territory and they called them Falklands, Falkland Islands. And then the Argentinians called them Malvinas. So there is a political problem there. And also the rest of them have to do with politics. All of them,
So
actually.
true.
Yeah.
So true. In my case, I'm going to tell you a personal experience of mine. I had to translate some communication coming from La Asamblea Nacional de Panama. And when I did that, I found at the bottom of the document I was translating a lema in quotation marks, ni millones ni limosnas, queremos justicia. Okay. And this is referring to a monument that's in the outer part of the Asamblea Nacional here in Panama. I don't know if this monument is still there or not. I really don't know. So that's an important example. When I translated that, when I provided the translation to that, I had a lot of trouble because I could not express that very clearly. Ni millones ni limosnas, coma, queremos justicia. So what is that?
That's
Then I needed.
yeah, but political situation between Panama and the United States.
Yeah, absolutely. It's political situation all the way. And then I needed to refer in some footnote to the problem and explain, well, this refers to the Panamanian people demands for better living standards or living freedom or so forth. I need to provide like chunk of text explanation describing the political situation in the country and the need for justice. There was more fairness and so forth. So it's a real challenge. It's a real challenge. So there's so many of them. Okay, I just like to stress that you don't think you will only find it in the government. It's in slogans, it's in taglines, it's in many places. In classroom, I'm going to provide you with some examples of this coming from these global companies. And I would really appreciate if you could do your very best to explain this, because this is exactly what both Larson and Naida refer to the need to move from the deep, from surface level to deeper levels of understanding and explaining people um, what to do. So so how do you deal with lemmas? I need to do some research on this topic. So here we go. So many commercial transactions so involving the governments in Latin America require the use of what we call the official stamp paper, okay? Papel sellado of a certain type and denomination for different transactions, right? So stamps generally carry serial numbers to identify the document. Translations include generally notations like stamp paper, government of Panama number X, whatever number that is. So so there are formulas to deal with this challenge because you don't know what to do with it. The information is there, but you don't know what to name it. Papel sellado, that's stamp paper. In the paperless, digitalized corporate governments, they don't use papers like this with lots of these records and things, or you print this just for your personal file. But this is not a document that is going to go around and be carried, from one place to another. Okay, and this takes us to the topic of technical language. Uh, so we have long and complex coding, right? That we call the legal books. That's how we know them. So we have there that includes the Código Penal. We have Civil, Mercantil, Laboral. Okay, they explain the requirements for record keeping, contracts, and how to go ahead with taxation, labor, um, working conditions, etc. So where did this originate? Okay, because we could think now, where is this from? So this is from the Iberian Code Law. Okay, the Spaniards, they keep these official records, okay? The Anglo-Saxon case law, which is a different way of thinking. But many of them are the same ever since the colonial administration, believe it or not. If you look at some of these codes from the time when Pedrarias Dávila or Vasco Núñez de Balboa times, when the colony began, I mean, the conquest, of course, came right after the colony. These are the same books that we use nowadays. They haven't really changed much. Now, could you consider this surprising? To me, it is, because I thought they, of course, after so much time, probably centuries, they could have changed or should have evolved, but they haven't evolved. You know, we in education, we receive a lot of criticism because they say that we do the same thing. We've been doing the same thing for 1,000 years or more as teachers. Well, the same thing is with the law. The law hasn't evolved much, really. It's the same coding, is the same structure. In the case of Latin America, it's probably the same exactly. Okay. Okay. Here we have another round of cognates. All right, but I don't want to go much deeper into cognates. Yeah, so I'd like to go back a little bit and discuss with you a little more about. Let me just go back a bit. Dealing with lemmas. Have you seen any of this? Do you know what we're referring to as lemmas? Do you understand this, or it's not very clear? I have a very good reason for asking this. Okay, my reason for asking you this is because tomorrow, I would like each and every one of us here in this session to bring a lemma from some document that we have run into. Okay, something that has your attention, maybe a lemma in a memo, maybe in some maybe inter-office or organizational or institutional type of communication. Um, of course, you're not going to give me or provide anything like that, but what you will do is you will bring your own uh, for us to benefit and discuss about how to deal with them. Okay, so I don't know how many are we in session. Let me just see. Let me just check, double check. We're 23. 23. There'll be 24 with me. No, 20, 22. There are 22 participants. So I would like you to go ahead and tomorrow bring a lemma and post it in the chat. We're going to go ahead and discuss each one of those and see how we could provide an equivalent. Here we're doing some translation research, really. Hello. Ruth Santos, you raise a hand. Go ahead.
Yes, Professor, I would like to know if you mean like a document seal that it's on a paper and that we can bring. A lemma, is that what you mean? Like
That
a
is right.
model?
It's like
Okay.
a motto or a slogan. That's true. Exactly.
Thank you.
Sure. But we're going to call it lemma because this is the linguistic term. Behind motto or slogan, the correct term is lemma, right? That's the right term. And then bring it and just type it, and we're going to be checking for meaning, because this is translation research, believe it or not. Go ahead. Go ahead, please. You want to say something? Something else? Marisol.
Yes, just to call your attention to the fact that not everybody has clicked on the link to the classroom. So you have to register in classroom for us to know that you're participating in the assignments. So if you don't register, your participation in the assignments won't be registered. So please click on the link and register in classroom. Okay.
Okay. Would it be okay?
I've been publishing the link through the chat the whole morning, but we only have 11 participants there, and we have 22 registered. We only have the half of them.
Okay. Okay.
So please click on the link and register in classroom.
Very good.
I also shared the code in case you don't have. You have to have a Google account, an email. So if you don't have one, you will have to make one and register in classroom. Okay, use the code. All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very good. Yeah, we do appreciate that very much, because I wasn't aware of that. Thank you, Professor Marisol. So useful. And what I want to say is this. Listen, I don't know how many of you are college professors. Most of you are, I think. Maybe you are not. Maybe you will eventually join the university, or some university, not necessarily the Universidad de Panamá. Listen, one of the reasons people have so many problems publishing papers is because they cannot think of very good research ideas. There is somebody who wants to say something. Go ahead, please. Hello. 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 I don't know if it is my microphone or something's going on.
Dr. Cardenas, could you repeat what were you saying? I got out of connectivity, please.
Sure. Okay. One of the reasons why we don't have as many translation research projects and published papers is because we don't really have very good ideas. What I'm offering you here through Lemas, that you will offer or begin offering for this Diplomado tomorrow for discussion, of course, is the possibility of you creating some research project to publish a paper on lemmas that we use in Panama, right? This is research that you can do in different institutions in our country. Okay? In Panama, we have so many institutions, right? They all use different lemmas because they're commemorating and referring to different things which are part of our history and our identity. Translating those from Spanish to English or to any other language that you know of, that is a topic that is worth doing research about. And this is something that I think nobody has ever cared about in Panama. I don't know if this makes sense to you. Does it make sense to you?
Sure.
This would be an excellent research project for you to present at Vicerrectoría de Investigación y Posgrado. Okay? I haven't done any of this, but I have thought about this. But I'm telling you a topic that I think holds great potential for a lot of research because providing a very good translation for lemmas in documents that no one has ever touched or discussed, it's a way for you to establish the values of our society, what Panama values or what Panamanian institutions value, and why out to the world. Because remember that translating official documents from our country into other languages, be it French, English, German, any language, what we're doing is we are sending them a message. We are offering them our image. And no one has ever cared about what it is that we are communicating and if what we're telling them is logical or not. Okay, so I'd like to know if you would be interested in this project and who could be interested in this project. Because the idea, the intention behind a program like this, Diplomado, is to come out of this with some ideas and some things to do. You see, tomorrow could be a very good defining moment for us to establish or for you to establish project, research project, research project.
I would be interested. I would really like to go further on that topic.
Very good. Very good. Is there anybody else interested in it?
Hi, this is Maria Elena Valencia, and I would be interested as well.
Very good. Very good. I strongly encourage you because the thing is this, if you're interested and you don't know what to do, what steps to follow in order to register your research project, I will tell you how to do it. I will tell you how to go ahead and do it. And then you can proceed and do your institutional research in Panama. Okay? Then you can probably provide some explanation of how Panamanians do this, right? And if we're doing it the right way or not.
Hello, Professor Cadenas. May I say something as well?
Sure, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I think that when we are looking at like slogans or mottos like lemmas and things like that, there is always like a cultural implication in the translation of these different terms because you know, like for example, we have like McDonald's, we have like me encanta, but in English is loving it. So, or when we have even different things that for some reason in one language they use certain phrases or certain expressions, but then when you translate it into another language, they don't use literal translations, but they use other different techniques. It's very important to probably not only explore and study the cultural aspects that are considered when they make these different translations, not only in lemmas, but also like in the title of songs, for example, in the case of Frozen, like Let It Go, and then it's a different translation for Let It Go, all right? Libre Soy, I think it's in Spanish. Now, there is a big difference between Libre Soy and Let It Go. But when we see those cultural aspects, then we can understand better why humans have to be always involved in translation. And we can see how artificial intelligence would play a role here because normally, and now because of AI everywhere, now people think that they can translate absolutely everything through the use of internet, like artificial intelligence. But when you see for artificial intelligence, it's not always accurate to translate things that have to do with culture. So this could be a very interesting study also to analyze these different translations of these different lemmas, for example, but at the same time to see what would be a common output from AI if there is any lemma that doesn't have yet a translation, and what will be that translation that the AI would generate. Because if the translation is already done, the AI will tell you because it already exists. It will be in the database. But if it's like lemmas, for example, that we find from Panamanian companies that do not have their counterpart or their translation in English, and we just explore how will be all of these different lemmas translated into English, for example, using AI, if that translation will be culturally accurate or not in that aspect. So I think that will be probably another aspect to explore.
Very good, very interesting, and very ambitious. Very good, exactly. And let me tell you something else. We could provide perspective and prospective. What ideas have prevailed during, through lemmas during the 20th century, and what new lemmas are appearing in the 21st century? A study after the canal reversion and the canal zone disappearance. So what changes have occurred in terms of the thought process for Panamanian culture now? This could be a novel research that deserves attention. I strongly urge you to go ahead and deal with this. It is research, of course. It is work. Of course, it is work, but it is worth it. It is worth it because no one has ever written anything on this in our country. I haven't seen anything, and I've been looking for something on this for a long time, and I don't find anything. People don't have I don't know, access maybe, or to the lemmas, or but we need to do this. This is necessary. This is necessary. I don't know
Okay.
if I should be stopping here or not. Let me know.
Yes.
Okay.
We got to the point. 12 o'clock, 2 minutes after 12. So we are okay. At this point, I just want to remind everybody that our seminar begins at 8 o'clock. The room should be open for 7:55 for the attendees. We, the organizers, should log in a little bit earlier so that we can check all the technical situation, the lighting, and so forth. So tomorrow, February 24th, we'll continue with Dr. Rafael Cardenas with the topics about translation. Remember to log in to Classroom. If you don't do so, then you can comply with the assignments for the day. And also the links are here in Zoom, and you also have the code in Zoom. You should have received it in your emails, but if not, you can log in from Zoom, from the chat that we have in Zoom. It is important to register your attendance every single day. So make sure you sign in your attendance before you leave, because if not, although you were coming in and out, if you don't sign in, if you don't register your attendance, you will be out for today. So it is important to register your attendance. It is important to register or log in to Classroom. You can do it from the Zoom, the chat Zoom here right now. We will be a little bit more connected so that if you need to look for the information, to log in to Classroom, or to register your attendance, you may do so with no stress. So remember, the assignment is look for lemmas, and the first thing we'll do tomorrow is to register your assignment in the chat Zoom. Do you have any question before we go?
Yes, I have one
No
question.
question. So that means
Yes.
that everybody's clear.
Hello.
No?
Can you hear me?
Oh, yes,
Hello.
tell me.
Yeah, do we have, it's only me registering once or at the end of the
Just
session?
once.
Just once. Okay.
We share the attendance link several times because people sometimes come in after we share it. So during the session, you will see that the personnel of the Faculty of Humanities will be sharing the link, but you only need to register once. Same with the classroom. You only need to do that once, and then you should be connected to see all the information. Any other question?
Just don't forget your lemma.
Yeah. Just reminded them that that's the first thing they need to put in the chat when they come in tomorrow.
A quick question, sorry. Is the question about the actual calendar? I'm sorry that probably, I don't know you got discussed because I'm working and taking the seminar like at the same time. And sometimes I cannot pay full attention to what's going on. And I apologize for that. You know, you got to pay the bills. So anyway, so when I'm looking at the actual calendar and I look at the information, I know that for the next weeks, it looks like we're going to have sessions like every day until March, but then it looks like there is a gap or break until August. Is that correct?
Yes.
That is correct.
All right. Okay, so we're going to have like sessions like this ones today, tomorrow, the whole week, then the following week, like for 3 weeks, that for module 1, 2, and 3, and then module number 4.
No, there is a break.
3,
there is a break
there's a
between
break,
module
and
2 and 3. There's a 1 week break.
Right. All right. Perfect. That's all I wanted to confirm.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
All right.
You're welcome. Any other question? Did everybody register in classroom? Did everybody register their attendance today? Okay. If there's no question,
not everybody
sorry?
has done. So in classroom we only have 13 participants.
13.
So yeah, that means that there are more there that still have not done it. Maybe because they don't have an email from Google. So you have to create your Google email for you to be able to participate in classroom. You see, and that's important. I mean, not having a Google email is no excuse because you can do it. All right. So register your email, a Google email, and then access Classroom. Those are the 2 steps that you have to do.
I think I registered with an email that.
Just to mention something, maybe the Gmail, because it to the mobile, it is possible email account that is not linked to your mobile phone, and that will be just great. No excuse, in other words.
Yeah, what you need is a Gmail, all right? You have, I mean, those are the rules. For you to be able to use their products, you have to have a Gmail account, all right? So
do I
it's a free product that we are using, which is the Google Classroom.
I need to move for a minute.
LMS. We have to, I mean, we are forced to do it because it is their product. Okay. Veronica? If you have an institutional email, I mean, from the University de Panama or from wherever you are, that's not going to be allowed by Google.
I need to move for a second.
Okay.
Okay.
So Google will only allow you to use their Gmail accounts. Okay, so please register. Do it. All right. So I think that will be it. Professor Rafael, do you have anything else to add?
You know, this evening you're gonna find Google Classroom populated with some resources. I'm gonna be posting 2 books for you guys. Out of those books, I'm gonna be informing you what to read because there's some readings to do. But I'll provide the instructions in a separate document with the book names and all that. All right.
Great, great. Yeah. So we'll have resources. Yeah, that's important. All right. Then if we don't have anything else to add, I mean, I don't know if you need to, if any one of the participants need us to stay because you need help or need any other information, please say so. But if you don't need anything else, well, you are dismissed. God bless you all. If you need something, please stay and we will talk to you. All right. So thank you for participating today. We'll see you tomorrow at 8 o'clock, as Professor Veronica said. And that will be it. God bless you all and have a nice afternoon. Remember to access Google Classroom for the resources and everything that Professor Cardenas will post. So God bless you and have a nice day.
To see you tomorrow.
Bye-bye. Bless you. Okay, Aristides, do you have any question? No. Maria Isabel, do you have any question?
Marisol, do we have to stay here after the session or shall we leave?
That's it for today. Yes, that's it.
Okay, thank you.
Have
Thank
a
you,
nice
Marisol.
day. Bless you.
See you tomorrow. God bless you.
Bye-bye.
Yep.
Hola, profa. ¿Ya culminó el seminario?
Yes.
Sí, ya culminó.
Ah, bueno, voy a detener la grabación.
Okay.
Okay.